Hi, it's Splinterverse. Welcome to another episode of D&D New Releases, where we offer first impressions of new third-party products for Dungeons & Dragons. We cover a selection of titles from Dungeon Masters Guild and DriveThruRPG each week. The titles are presented in alphabetical order by site, and all of them are linked in the video description. Purchasing the books using those links helps the channel, but you can also support us by purchasing one of our best-selling books. Our newest release, Swarms of the Multiverse, offers over 70 brand new creatures, including their associated swarms. Plus, you get instructions on how to make your own balanced swarms, and lots of bonus materials such as 4 new demiplanes. We've got lineages suitable for any setting, as well as optional lineage rules in our Van Richten's Librum of Lineages. With our Potions Unlocked book, we have over 100 pages of material to take your potions to the next level in your game. Our Feywild Companion offers 150 pages of Feywild fun for players and DMs. Also, our book, Fizban's Vault of Draconic Secrets, contains over 50 pages of dragon-themed player options, including a subclass for each class and much more. Please support the channel by purchasing one of our books using the links in the video description. Before we start with this week's releases, let's check out our exclusive discount on Splinterverse Media's social media channels this week. It's Ravenloft Players Compendium with 65 subclasses plus some feats, spells, and more, all with the theme of the domains of Dread and Ravenloft, of course. And it's by Jeremy Forbing, and it's normally $14.95, but with the Splinterverse discount program discount, it's going to be 50% off of that. So that's a huge deal, and this is already a best gold seller from when it came out. I bought it when it came out, and it's a really fun book. It's 200 pages. It's got 5-star rating, and it's just got so much stuff in it, including some lineages, some feats, all kinds of good things. But I mean, just tons of stuff. And look at how much is in the table of contents. I mean, that's how packed this 200-page book is. It goes into the domains, gives you kind of a little bit of a background on the domains, and then you've got all those subclasses, etc. So let's take a look inside, and you can see here, after it goes through the domains, it goes into the lineages. Then you've got your subclasses. So look at how many there are just for the barbarians. So you've got everything from the Path of the Flame Warden all the way down to the Path of the Windwalker. And then the Bard's got the College of Destiny, Intrigue, Resistance, Testaments, Cleric. You got the Defier, Exorcism, Hearth, Prophecy, Pyre. I mean, there's so many here. And then you come all the way down to the end, and you've got the Artificer and the Blood Hunter as well. So covering every single possible official class. Then you go into the feats and spells. So just action-packed book here. So getting to see a little bit of the domain intro section, which is helpful. Some of these domains, I mean, people can always use a refresher on those, right? Because it's just, they don't get used much, or you just don't know them all. So very cool. And then there's some rumored domains here mentioned, and then newly uncovered domains, which is cool. And then you get right into the lineages here. They've got something called the Gloom-Touched and the Half Golem. And that's all you can see in the preview. But let's take a look at some of these lineages here. So you've got the Gloom-Touched. It says, similar to tieflings whose ancestry ties them to the lower planes, Gloom-Touched embody the eldritch influence of the domains of Dread. In fact, some scholars have previously called them Shadowfell tieflings. However, unlike tieflings, for the most part, Gloom-Touched are physically indistinguishable from members of the other races from which they descend, though they tend to be taller and often more wiry or muscular. Any child born in the domains of Dread or the Shadowfell might be Gloom-Touched, though they are extremely rare. In other worlds, children born near shadow crossings may take on these traits. In Eberron, manifest zones tied to Dulur or Mabur are also produce Gloom-Touched. However, not every Gloom-Touched is born this way. Some make the transition during adulthood, after spending too much time in the Shadowfell, or after making one too many crossings through the mists. Gloom-Touched have a special relationship with fear, and their talents allowing them to control fear in both themselves and others. So it's cool, with lineages, you have that option to start as the 𝙤𝙤𝙢𝙪𝙧𝙀 or later become the 𝙤𝙤𝙢𝙪. So the author here, Jeremy Forbing, has said, okay, maybe you become 𝙤𝙤𝙢𝙪 because you've traveled too many times to Ravenloft or spent too much time in the Shadowfell. So that's a cool concept that the DM can work with as well. And it's got some more background on them. And then looking at the traits, it says you are a construct and a humanoid. You are small or medium. And then you've got dark vision, and you can cast Cause Fear once, regaining the ability when you finish a long rest. And then, so basically once per long rest, you can cast that. Stalwart, whenever you make a saving throw to avoid becoming frightened, you are considered proficient with that type of saving throw, and you add double your proficiency bonus to the check instead of your normal proficiency bonus. And then Surprising Strengths, when determining your carrying capacity and the weight you can push, drag, or lift, you do so as if your strength score were 5 higher. And then Terrifying Strike, when you score a critical hit with a melee weapon attack, in addition to the normal effects of a critical hit, you can push the target up to 15 feet away from you, and the target is frightened of you until the end of your next turn. So very, very cool. And then there's a whole sidebar in Caliban's here. It says, in the domains of dread, individuals whose birth or childhood is believed to have exposed them to strange witchcraft curses, the mists, or the energies of the Shadowfell are frequently known as Calibans. In fact, the superstitious, untrusting folk of Ravenloft have not only applied this term to the 𝙤𝙤𝙢𝙪, but also the Hexbloods, half-orcs, tiefling, Shadowkai, and even Esma. Often the least educated humans name anyone whose appearance they cannot understand as a Caliban. Many receive this as an insult or condemnation, and the label can lead to internalized shame, frustration, isolation, and even rage. Many so-called Calibans find better lives as wandering adventurers, leaving behind the communities where ignorance all too easily becomes scorned. So that's cool. That's a helpful little backstory opportunity, whether it's you want to have a player character relate that experience, or if you're making a 𝙤𝙤𝙢𝙪 NPC, you can have that be something that they convey. So nice touch from the author to give you some background that you can plug in. I always like having those options, and the half golem looks pretty cool too. It says you have had one or more portions of your body replaced with parts of a construct animated by an elemental spirit. Like all half golems, you are the result of good intentioned actions taken too far. Unlike an actual golem, you have a mortal soul animating your body and its new additions. And then you've got various things going on. So you've got heavy limbs. When you take the dash action, the amount of speed you gain from that action is reduced by 10 feet. So that's like a detriment because you're carrying around different weights of body parts, I guess. Living weapon, when you hit with a melee attack using a weapon or an unarmed strike, you can choose to deal bludgeoning damage equal to 1d6 plus your strength mod instead of normal damage. Then when you make a saving throw against a spell or other magical effect, you add half your proficiency bonus rounded down to the saving throw if it doesn't already include your proficiency bonus. And then you have advantage on all saving throws against effects that would push you, cause you to fall prone, or alter your form, such as polymorph. And you have resistance against bludgeoning damage from non-magical attacks that are not adamantine. And then there's sub-races like the clay half golem and flesh half golem, iron half golem, stone half golem. So very cool that they have these sub-races that you can choose. And that's nice because there's so many different types of golems in D&D, and to be able to connect your race to a particular one is cool. You could even have like opposing factions of golems. Maybe you're an iron golem and you don't like the stone golems or whatever. So that could be an interesting story point. But so much in here. I mean, you saw the table of contents just packed full of stuff, and this is 50% off, which is a significant savings on a book this big. So really, really encourage you to take advantage of this. It's these discounts, they last for a very limited time. We release them every Monday at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, and then you have about a week from then to take advantage of it. So you want to make sure you're following us everywhere at Splinterverse, and then clicking this link. It is in the timestamps, first link, also in the pinned comment under Ravenloft Players Compendium. Give it a click and get those savings. Our first new release is Arms and Artifacts of Zool from 𝙤𝙤𝙬𝙯 and Cliff Dunn. It's a suggested price of 50 cents for 10 pages. 5th edition. In the mythical world of Zool, swords and sorcery are the keys to battling monsters and ungodly extraplanar creatures, claiming the riches of ages and forging new empires. In Arms and Artifacts of Zool, Tome 3, you'll find the stuff in Treasures of Legend, the magical sword of a legendary thief, an enchanted elvish rod of sylvan origin and powers, and a sorcerer's device for long-distance communication powered by horrifying black arts. So lots of fun stuff. We've talked about 𝙤𝙤𝙬𝙯's releases. You know, they've got this mega continent of Zool and the free city of Vadashar, and they're doing these small releases every week to really give you the opportunity to inexpensively connect with that setting and to get to know the setting a little bit each week, so that eventually when you've maybe purchased all of them or read a significant amount of them, you'll be able to really connect to those settings and be just a pro DM with it, because you'll have so much knowledge at that point. So looking at this sample, we've got the Rod of the Creeper, the Zenobia, the Sword of Attalus, and the 𝙤𝙤𝙘𝙤𝙤𝙀 Alchemical Homunculus Crystal. That looks like a lot of fun. So lots of fun stuff in this one. And again, it's only 50 cents. So let's read about the Rod of the Creeper. So it's a wondrous item, very rare, requires attunement by a cleric or druid. An enchanted cherry wood rod inlaid with platinum ivy floral cloisonne wire. Crafted in a proto-elvish design and measuring about 3 feet long. It was created by the river elves of Lake 𝙤𝙤𝙘𝙤 in the northern valley of Caliph. The Rod of the Creeper has 3 charges and resets at dawn. By using the command word, it will project a net of grappling vines in a 20 feet wide by 30 feet long cone that will attempt to entangle every living thing in the area of effect. Creatures in the area may attempt a dex saving throw, and any creature in the area is grappled on a failure. No damage is inflicted, and after about 15 minutes the vines dry up and fleck away. The vines from the Rod of the Creeper are immune to non-magical bludgeoning and piercing weapons. Normal and magical fire does double damage to the vines, but delivers the same damage to the grappled creatures. The vines are susceptible to slashing weapons and will hold firm until they take 33 hit points of damage, or for the duration. Each round, an entangled creature may attempt a strength saving throw. On a success, they are free from the vines, but on a failure, they take bludgeoning damage from the vines tightening. A creature that does not struggle to free itself will take no damage for the duration. That's fun. I like the feeling of that item. And you got quite a lot of other stuff in here. We'll just read the intro to this because we've already read one whole item, but we'll read the intro to the 𝙤𝙤𝙘𝙤𝙀. The 𝙤𝙤𝙘𝙤𝙀 or alchemical homunculus crystal is an evil semi-sentient enchanted apparatus created by one or more magicians using a grueling alchemical process. It permits long-distance sorcerous communications between evil mages and similarly aligned spellcasters using linked crystals. That sounds really cool. Yeah. So come here and read the whole thing. 𝙤𝙤𝙬𝙯's always kind enough to share the entire book in the preview, so you can read and see if it works for you. I mean, 50 cents is pretty good deal for 3 new items with artwork. So check it out. It's under Arms and Artifacts of Zool 3 in the links below. Give it a click. Next we have Ashlock's Maze, Final Exam, and it's by Peter Sprunk, and it's 27 pages for 5th edition. It says, the great arithmancer Daniel Ashlock, professor at an adventuring school, has disappeared right before the exam period. Fortunately, he left an exam for his first-year students to take, which is administered by one of his student assistants. The exam consists of a triplet of mazes, which the characters have to conquer in collaboration by using ingenuity skills and knowledge of arithmancy. Ashlock's Maze is an adventure designed for a party of up to 8 first-level characters and can be played in about 4 hours. If the players are not interested in puzzle solving, they should probably give this adventure a pass. If the players manage to discover the underlying mathematical principles of the 3 mazes, they can progress through them efficiently, though more conventional approaches to solving the puzzles will work as well. So you can see it's broken into 4 different parts plus an intro, and then you've got a tear sheet, secrets, wizard's lock cards, frax cards, and moon phases. So pretty fun concepts here, it looks like. We're going through here. You got introduction, rules, the Great Maze. We'll read about that Great Maze in a minute. So you get to see one of the mazes here. It says in the first part of the adventure, the characters must traverse Kayleigh's maze. The maze consists of 24 numbered rooms, each connected to 3 other rooms via a simple mathematical principle. In the maze, the players may gather some treasure and may fight some monsters, but neither is absolutely necessary. When the characters enter the maze for the first time, read the following text. When you pass through the gateway, you find yourself in the middle of a circular room with a diameter of about 30 feet with featureless stone walls. There are 3 glowing gateways in the walls at equal distances from each other. 1 red, 1 green, and 1 blue. When you look up, you see that the ceiling is about 15 feet above the floor. An ivory plaque is fastened to the ceiling, in which a 4-digit number is carved. The number is 1, 2, 3, 4. Below your feet, a text is carved in the floor. It says, "Find my mirror to exit." And so then you can see this is kind of the pattern, and those numbers get rearranged in all the different circles here. So they have to, I'm guessing they have to, find matching numbers to get through. So it's 24 circular rooms, each room having a diameter of 30 feet. Each room has a number displayed on the ceiling on an ivory plaque, which consists of the digits 1, 2, 3, and 4 in some permutation. It also has 3 gateways leaving from it. The gateways are colored red, green, and blue. Moving through the gateway, we'll place a character in a different room with a similar layout, but a different number on the ivory plaque on the ceiling. An overview of the connections between the rooms is shown below. The difference between connecting rooms is decided as follows. It says the characters start in 1, 2, 3, 4. They can exit the maze in room 4, 3, 2, 1. So the reverse, basically, which is a golden gateway in the floor. They have to figure it out for themselves how to reach the exit. The rooms may have something in them. And then it lists like the options of what's in them. So yeah, they got to find the opposite of 1, 2, 3, 4. So I guess they're starting here. So 4, 3, 2, 1, right here is one is at least the exit, I think, because this is the complete opposite. Yeah, pretty cool. Gives you some math experience. And there's some different room options here, whether it's treasure or monster. And then leaving the maze. So that's awesome. I mean, you could plop these mazes into other adventures. All kinds of opportunities to teach math with this or not. I mean, it looks like you can figure it out without the math as well, which I appreciate because not everybody's strong at math. So very fun. I love to see adventures, and it's free. The price on this is free, so why not grab this? It's Ashlock's Maze in the links below. Give it a click. Next, we've got Creature Feature Compendium 1 for OSR or Old School Essentials, and it's by Jeremy Hart, $45 for 640 pages. That's a lot of pages, and you get 160 new monsters for Old School Essentials. It's got extensive fluff, including descriptions, lore, ecology, adventure seeds, and some ideas for memorable loot. Paper mini designs for every monster, VTT tokens for every monster, and this is really like a collected edition of the first 10 volumes of this particular creature feature stuff. And it's going to look a little different because it has what they call a publisher preview, so we can see more of the page here. So you can see it goes from Ondot all the way down to Zozara, and then there's some lists like monster by hit die, etc. So here's Ondot with the images, and you can see they have these little silhouettes to show you the size comparison, which is fun. You got your description, lore, tactics, ecology, seeds, and then you go into the next one, Abyssal Savant, etc. So we'll scroll through some of these. You get to see good, decent selection in here of what's available, and because it's a publisher preview, it kind of jumps around a little bit in page numbers, which is nice. So we can see that there's this hit dice appendix, so it's organized by this would be your probably your weakest one, Unborn Assassin, and then the most deadly ones would be in this list here, like the Fallen Celestial or the Hierophant. So let's find one of these to read a little bit about. So let's go back up here to this one. This one looks cool. The Abyssal Savant. So this is a large, stooped, and twisted horrific abomination of generally humanoid shape. The thing is an unwholesome shade of grayish green with purple spots and 3 roomy eyes. It stands roughly twice the size of a man. Its fingers are long, gnarled talons. It grips a bizarre staff capped with an alien sigil containing several animated eyes within a strange metal. The thing's hideous face is framed by long, writhing tentacles that it probably uses to feed its gaping, fang-filled maw. The creature seems to lack a nose or ears. Its feet are semi-hooved, and its legs are bent in a bestial angle. So pretty good description there. And then you've got some tactics of what it's up to. Then you've got lore, and then you've got ecology, and then you've got some adventure seeds. So it says, for the first one, an ancient library has been attacked from within by one of these creatures. It appears and disappears sporadically, teleporting hither and yon. It seems to be searching for a book. Unfortunately, it is destroying many valuable tomes in the process. The chief librarian is a middling wizard at best and no match for the creature. So yeah, that could be a fun way to start off an introduction to this creature and have to help this bumbling wizard figure out a way to stop it before the library is destroyed. And then you got a whole loot section that tells you what kind of loot it's got going on. In terms of ability, it has true sight, telepathy, psychometry. So it's able to psionically perceive the history and future of objects it touches. It's got a psionic blast, 2 in 6 chance per round of loosing a cone of psionic energy that's 10 feet wide and 50 foot long. It's got various magical powers. So yeah, this is pretty cool. It says, cunning and malevolent psychic sorcerers from a distant plane. Whenever they appear in the mortal realm, they are questing for arcane and esoteric knowledge. Hideous to look upon, perhaps it is a mercy. They are often invisible to our gaze. So yeah, lots of fun creatures waiting for you in here. If you play old school Essentials or OSR, 160. That's a lot of new creatures for those play settings. And if you're a crafty DM and you can convert from OSR to 5th edition, then there's plenty of stuff in here for you there as well. So love the lore, love the sections, all the different sections they're giving you for these creatures. Pretty cool. So check it out under Creature Feature Compendium 1 in the links below and give it a click. Next, we have Delusions of Grandeur by Adventure Bundles with a suggested price of $2.99. And it says, there is a kobold clan living in an abandoned dwarven mine. They call themselves 𝘏𝙤𝙤𝙦, and that loosely translates in common to the big ones in the mines. The name is new. The kobold chieftain changed it after the discovery of a wand, as he thought it better describes what the clan now resembles. So fun little kobold clan that they have to deal with here in this adventure. And it's an OSR one using the old school essentials. And you get 2 maps, 6 items, a handout, and Foundry VTT files. And if you like it, there's also a 5th edition version available somewhere, it looks like. And if you're watching Adventure Bundles, you might want to link to that here so people can find it, because it doesn't always appear in these recently purchased sections. So you've got your intro, your adventure summary, referee advice, adventure hooks, and then you go into your village of Cortia. You're getting to see the whole book, which is nice. So you got the mines. Look at this fun map for the mines. I really like this. I think it looks very good. And then you've got living area. Oh, that looks like a fun trap or something going on. They always do such a nice job at Adventure Bundles, making everything look clean and easy to read. You've got some handouts in here. Yeah, I always appreciate the cleanness of their work. So let's read a little bit of the adventure hooks. It says, a nearby village named Cortea has been harassed by the kobolds as of late. More and more kobold scouts travel closer to the village and steal things, sometimes even starting fights with the local hunters. Now the village leader has gathered a small amount of gold and offers it to the party that will deal with the kobolds. Rumors go around the village that the kobold clan is led by a chieftain who has wings, a dragon skull as a head, and is as big as a human. So pretty cool, fun little myth being built around this leader of the kobolds. And I think that's a good way to get the party involved too, because they're like, these kobolds are harassing us, you got to stop it, here's some money. And then messed up as the other option. It says Jaffa, an apprentice to the magic user who has his base in the village of Cortea, had been out in the desert gathering alchemical components. Before leaving, he picked his master's wand that allows one to double or halfen their size. He dropped it while in the desert, and when he realized, he went searching for it. As he arrived at the spot, he saw the kobolds picking it up. Now he offers gold to the adventurers that would bring it back to him. So, very cool. Yeah, this could be a lot of fun. I love all these ideas of traps and locations and these really gorgeous maps. So you get the Foundry VTT files to use the maps via simple imports. So that's super helpful too. Yeah, here's another cool one with the mine. Yeah, these are fun. So check it out under Delusions of Grandeur in the links below and give it a click. Next, we've got Encounters Compendium, but first, let me take some loot. It's got 30 battle encounters plus 10 mystery encounters ready to play with maps and tokens from Calfessel's Tales, 1999 for 41 pages, 5th edition. And it says, having trouble finding some cool encounters to throw at your players while they are traveling down a forest path. Maybe they want to explore a cave at the side of the road, or they want to cross that very dangerous looking bridge. Well, we've got you covered. So you got downloadable maps and tokens, 40 maps plus 220 tokens. That's a lot. Varying levels of difficulty, suggested monster setup tables for each encounter, unique situations and consequences. Each encounter has its own short story with consequences that could even last through your entire campaign. So that's cool. I like when there's lasting consequences. Here's a list. You can see how many there are here in the table of contents. And then you can see 2 of the encounters here, and you can kind of get a view of the map and the overhead tokens that are going to be available to you as well. These look awesome. I love the look of these tokens. And then monster setup per level. So if they're level 1, you want to have 2 goblins. If they're level 2, you want to have 3 goblins plus a hobgoblin. And it just keeps going all the way up to 16, which I think is just insanely helpful. Because this over here is going to give you kind of what the encounter is like conceptually and like what's happening, but it's not dependent on level. And then you just look over here and you say, well, my party is average party level 13. Well, that means I need 3 goblins, 2 bugbears, and 2 trolls. And because you have all the tokens in the map, I mean, it's just, you're ready to go. So let's read just this first one so you can see how you would work this. And it's got a link to the map right here, so if you're reading it and want to click and get to the map, that hyperlink is going to take you to it, so then you're ready to go even faster than if you have to go through files, right? It says the players happen upon a couple of goblins chasing down some sheep and end up being the goblins' new target. A few of the goblins have stopped up on the cliff and are now aiming down at the adventurers. Not far behind the goblins is also the half-elf shepherd that is trying to save his sheep, yelling for the goblins to leave them alone. The goblins will try and shoot some of the sheep if they stay close to the adventurers. If any of the goblins escape the encounter, they will come back to burn down the shepherd's home and take the remaining sheep. If they are all defeated, the shepherd will reward the adventurers with an evening meal back at his home. So that's cool. So that's some of the consequences they were talking about, is that, you know, if you don't kill them all, they're going to come back and burn the house down, and you're going to hear about that later. So fun way to weave it in. I always like when these sort of random encounters that you plug and play from other things have opportunities to creep in elsewhere, because then it feels like a tapestry of a story, you know, that's sort of woven together, as opposed to just this sort of isolated, siloed part of it, right? So I love this. I really think this is a really cool way to design, have all these variations for level, and then just the maps and the tokens. I mean, this is really valuable. I definitely think people should get this. It's a must-have in my mind, just even to see how they're doing it, so that you could mimic that with your own stuff. So very, very cool. Look for it in the links below under Encounters Compendium and give it a click. Next, we have Places of Power by Realm Warp Media, $14.99 for 90 pages. A bunch of authors on it, including Kirsty Kidd, William Lawler, Jordan Carmichael. And it says it is system agnostic, but it brings 10 ready-to-play places of power, locations that are drenched in magic, either from a process over time or because of an event in its past that can still be felt today. These places range from strange graveyards to labyrinthine other worlds and beyond, each just as strange and magical as the last, and include the organizations that reside there, along with some events that can take place within it. With each organization, there are materials and favors that they may require of the party, along with services that they can offer to the party for said favors. Each also includes plot hooks to bring the party into the place of power, along with a section about the current course of events that will lead to an outcome that the party may want to stop once they are in the middle of things. So you've got the brine grove hidden behind the pastel hues of the strange rigid trees, and a castle that sways with each gust. The brine grove, a dry seabed where there was never a sea. So that's mysterious. This is the city out of time. One of the greatest cities of its age was reduced to rubble and ash in a day. Overcome by grief, the Lord Silverstaff concocted a plan that was desperate and more than a little extreme. So that's just 2 that we read about, and then there's more, right? Because there's 10 different ones, and these sound really fun. So let's look inside. So yeah, you've got the list here, everything from the Brine Grove to the Valley of Eternal Rest. And here we get right into the Brine Grove with lots and lots of lore. I mean, this is, let's see how many pages. I mean, we're 5 or 6 already. Yeah, quite a few pages. Yeah, it's definitely, let's see. Yeah, this is 11 pages on the Brine Grove. So that's really cool. You get 11 pages about this one location, so you can really dive deep into the lore and connect with it. So it goes into like who lives there, how they respond to strangers, and then the council of people that live there. And then this is a faction called the Conclave, and then crafting that's happening, consumables such as salt tablets and Pidney's irritables. And then you've got ocean warped spells. So certain spells get, I guess, manipulated by the ocean. And then you've got becoming the crab. There's some body horror stuff with some crab traits. And then there's this thing called an arcane tempest. And then you got treasures of the deep with some more items and things that you'd find there. And then a bunch of plot hooks, consequences. So I think this is just jam-packed full of stuff, which is really, really cool, especially if you want to do all the mechanical parts and just have, and this even has a little bit of mechanics, have a setting to put something that you've been working on together. This book's probably got one that's going to work for you, because these are all magic-filled settings. So, far from the rhythmic tides and crashing waves of the shores grows a curious, colorful forest that bears coastal salt on its winds. Hidden behind the pastel hues of the strange rigid trees is a castle that sways with each gust. This is the Brine Grove, a dry seabed where there was never a sea. Deep inside, a castle stands on the back of an enormous and partially buried dormant crab. The forest that extends from the crab's shell is not formed of trees, but of large coral formations that grow in soft pinks and peaches. Their branches bud with anemones, whose tentacles drift with the breeze, catching unsuspecting insects. The ground, where the deep red shell isn't protruding, is carpeted with seaweed and kelp. So, beautiful detail, well written. There's a lot to read. I don't want to read the whole thing because I want to jump forward and read some of the other parts here. So reception to strangers, and then they get council members. But let's go down here. So they've got some information on crafting. But let's read about Pidney's irritables. Over her years of playing jokes and pranks on the council, Pidney has amassed a library of homemade irritables that she trades at a low value. These include caltrops, ball bearings, snares, smoke bombs, stink bombs, and inflatable fish skin sacks that make embarrassing noises when pressured to release the air trapped inside. So that's cool. And then ocean warp spells. Magic users feel an oceanic pull on their spellcraft as soon as they enter the Brine Grove. The effect of the magic they cast remains the same, but its appearance is infused with a briny flavor. Okay, so it's not changing the effect, it's just got a different look to it. And here's some of the descriptions, like a light fog drifts around the feet of both you and your target. Elemental damage is shifted to a lightning bolt, a crack of thunder, or icy cold water. Tiny brightly colored fish drift from your fingertips as you cast. So fun. Yeah, you could, and then you could just sort of relate that to the players as a DM, and then they could be like, whoa, and trying to figure out, did it change anything, or is it just because we're in this strange place, or what's going on? And then it says that magic that already invokes marine or tempestuous elements gains a surge in power. So winds blow harder, rains fall heavier, etc. So you could easily just up the damage on something, right? Or make it last longer, or have it hit more targets. And it says the biggest danger at the Brine Grove is the threat of mutation. There's a small chance that spending time or sleeping in the area triggers the changes, but usual magical abilities is a far bigger risk. All the residents have at least one visible crab trait, with long-standing residents exhibiting many. Some crab folk have chosen to accumulate traits in a way of proving their loyalty to Karkinos. And then there's this whole crab trait table. So, I mean, this is just filled with fun lore. I love that it's just completely separated from the mechanics, so you can just build your own mechanics if you just love creating mechanics but you hate doing the lore, or you just want to try something different. I mean, this book is going to be great for you because you can just let the lore here do the work, and then you just bring in your mechanics and your creatures and your characters and spells and things that you've been wanting to try, or that you've been sitting on and maybe you just didn't have the right spot for it, because there's 10 different really cool options in here. We only looked at the Brine Grove, and look at how distinct and different that location was. And you're getting to see 54 pages out of the 90, so you can read through a lot of the locations here before you decide to buy. So I love it. I think you should grab it. It's in the links below under Places of Power. Give it a click. Next, we've got Rites of the Infinity Guard by 𝘬𝙁𝙗𝙗, and it is $7.95 for 32 pages, 5th edition. Join the titular Infinity Guard, a reclusive organization set against the backdrop of the timeless expanse, a chaotic demiplane outside time, where the physics and magic do not obey the normal laws. Journey across a place filled with dangerous extratemporal monsters, or tackle missions throughout points in time to prevent the paradoxical collapse of the world. So very fun. 4 pages of lore for the Timeless Infinity, a demiplane. 6 pages of lore for the Infinity Guard, who protect the prime temporal stream. And 4 pages of rules to facilitate time travel without headaches. Warlock subclass, 20 items, 2 monsters, 24 adventure hooks. So tons of stuff, and I love that. That's really cool. So yeah, let's take a look inside and see. And as usual, 𝘬𝙁𝙗𝙗 always does nice layout, very organized. You've got tons of information on lore and setting and the time travel stuff, the subclass, which is the timeless patron. And then you've got artifacts like the Apotheos dial and the dimensional sieve. And then you've got the Acon shard. It's hard to read with this watermark on it. Vase of many faces. And then you got monsters. So tons of stuff, and I just always enjoy 𝘬𝙁𝙗𝙗's stuff. Always worth the money to me, because there's just it's just clear that it's written with a passion. You know, that it's not somebody just trying to make a buck, right? So love that. So let's read about something called the Writhing Sea. A paradoxical sea sweeps to the horizon east of the conflict's heartlands. Its waters gnarl into swirls unaffected by conventional gravity. A sky of broken rocks hangs above the unmoving arches of water, each up to 200 feet high. The coast around the sea suffers from a similar fate, rocks and sand drifting aimlessly across them. Unstable gravity. The writhing sea soars into the sky on warped gravity. For every 10 minutes of travel across the sea or its surrounding beaches, roll a d6 and consult the unstable gravity table to determine how gravity changes. So then they have this table. So it's reduced gravity. Creatures have advantage on strength checks and saving throws, and their jump height and distance are doubled. Whenever a creature would suffer fall damage, the damage is halved. Then you got normal gravity under average here, and then increased gravity. Creatures have disadvantage on strength checks and saving throws, and their jump height and distance are halved. Whenever they would suffer fall damage, it gets doubled. So, and then there's arcane fluctuations. Whenever a creature near the writhing sea casts a spell, it must roll a d20. On a roll of 11 or higher, the spell is cast as normal. On a roll of 10 or lower, the spell fails to take effect, but the spell slot remains unspent. Additionally, on a roll of 20, any damage the spell deals is increased by 1d8. And then it talks about the monsters that they may encounter, like the Boondodoks, chaos fractals, chronal paradox, possibility leeches, water elemental, etc. So just really fun stuff. And you've got something called the Chronoi, constitute the primary enforcement arm of the Infinity Guard, tasked with field duties of protection, hunting, espionage, and elimination. And then you've got a patrol and sentinels and each different type. I mean, there's just so much stuff in here to really read and enjoy. And I love 𝘿𝙗𝙗 stuff because I feel like you can just sit back and let the lore just wash all over you, and then you've also got those fun mechanics on top of it. So it's just always well-rounded supplements that I think have value to anybody who purchases them. So check it out. It's under Rites of the Infinity Guard in the links below. Give it a click. Next we got Ultimate Shifts for Pathfinder 1 from Legendary Games, $9.99 for 52 pages. Author Jason Nelson says the sea is calling, and Ultimate Ships is the perfect resource to make your aquatic adventures amazing in your Pathfinder campaign. This incredible expansion brings you everything you need to expand the nautical weapons in your campaign, with rules for shipboard combat, simple and advanced ship-to-ship combat, and easy-to-use fleet battles. You'll find detailed options for ships large and small, from ancient times to the age of sail, with naval siege weapons from cannons to catapults, ballista to fire drakes, as well as special ship modifications. There's mass combat rules, and they've been expanded, and they offer this integrated system. But it helps you bring this classic adventure voyage to life in your Pathfinder game, or 3.5 3rd edition D&D basically. You can use this for, and it's got a modular design, so it makes it easy for you to use it as little as you want or as much as you want. So let's look inside. So you've got shipboard combat, ship combat, naval siege weapons, spell effects and naval combat, ship statistics, and then fleet battles. So I can see those are all kind of modules, so you can pick and choose from those. So that if you want to just use part of it, you can. So here's, let's see what you've got for typical shipboard DC. So acrobatics, a 10 is to move at normal speed on a cluttered deck, but when you get up to 30, it's to stand or move along a yard arm or rope. So you see these movies with pirates or whatever, and they're walking across ropes between sails and doing all sorts of acrobatics. So this is giving you some DCs to help figure out what you would do with your acrobatics. With climb, it goes from 5 to climb an anchor chain, which is pretty straightforward. But to climb the side of the hull, you need a 20. And then there's modifiers based on whether it's wet or it's high winds or there's a rolling deck, icy surface, etc. That's really cool. You could even use this in 5th edition, because that's pretty reasonable. But shipboard combat is just like any other combat between the PCs and their opponents, except the encounter takes place on board a ship rather than in a dungeon or on a forest path. For the most part, shipboard combat can be resolved normally. The only constraints are the size of the ship and therefore the size of the battlefield, the danger of falling overboard into the water, and the effects of weather on the ship. If the combat happens during a storm or in rough seas, treat the ship's deck as difficult terrain. Characters climbing into the rigging or diving into the sea to swim from one ship to another, or to climb out of the water, up an anchor chain, or up the hull of a ship must succeed on climb checks. While moving across a crowded deck, leaping across open hatches, or from mast to deck, or negotiating pitching boards slick with spray must succeed on an acrobatics check. And then it continues to talk about that. But what I'm picturing here is that you would have like maybe several maps or even one big map with a bunch of ships on it. And as the battle progresses from one ship to the next, I mean, these characters would have to do these various checks to see, can they even get up the anchor chain or across the rope or climb the hull or whatever they have to do. And if you want to make it rainy, then you add the modifier and all that stuff. So I think that's really fun and cool, and I could see it working even with 5th edition. But this is a reminder, Pathfinder or 3rd edition, of course, since those two are very close in design. So check it out in the links below under Ultimate Ships and give it a click. Well, that's our last drive-through title today. Before we move on to DM's Guild, please take a moment to consider purchasing one of our books, including our brand new release, Swarms of the Multiverse, which is over 180 pages of goodness for DMs. It's got over 70 brand new creatures along with their swarm counterparts. So you get these new creatures and then various swarm carnations of them to use. In some cases they summon swarms, so maybe it's you know, an individual creature with a swarm that they summon. Other cases they control swarms, or they just swarm together to be even more deadly. And they're not just reskins or you know, the same abilities when you get to the swarm. We carefully looked at each swarm and made them different and distinct so that you could surprise your players. They don't always know exactly how the swarm is going to behave just because they fought the individual. And there's tons of other stuff in there, like 4 new demi-planes, a bunch of magic items, and there's more than 2 pages per creature, so you get a ton of lore, including tactics, adventure hooks, etc. So you definitely want to check it out. It's in the links below, along with all of our other books, like the Feywild Companion, which is over 150 pages, print or digital, and it's got a new Domain of Delight. It's got subclasses for every single class inspired by the Feywild. It's got spells, magic items, and 2 complete adventures, among many other things. And then we've got Fizban's Vault of Draconic Secrets, which has got 12, or actually 13 subclasses that are dragon themed, and it's got spells, magic items, horde magic items, a familiar, trinkets, all kinds of dragon goodness. So if you like dragons, it's there for you. And for DMs, even though most of those things are player based, we have adventure hooks for every single thing in the book so that you can use them with NPCs or just help your players incorporate them. So it's good for DMs too. Then we got Potions Unlocked, which is over 100 pages in print or digital. And that's got a ton of new potions with a short story for each, as well as what do they smell like, what do they taste like, how to craft those potions. And then you've got vendors who are fully stocked and sell those potions, as well as some of the standard potions from the books. And you've got VTT maps of potion themed locations, plants detailed in there. I mean, it's just everything you could ever want for potions. So check it out under Potions Unlocked. Then we've got Van Richten's Liber of Lineages, which goes into the new concept of lineages with some optional rules to help you manage how those work, and 4 conflict-driven lineages like the Keykeeper and the Bookbearer. So you want to check those out. And then lastly, our other book is Secrets of the Draugr, which is a brand new race that combines the Drow and the Duergar into a hybrid race that has its own history and challenges and personality, and its own deities and a fortune-telling method that you can do at your table. So check those out as well. And please subscribe to the channel, like the video, share it out there with your friends so that others can find out about these great titles. Leave us a comment. I will respond to each comment personally. And click all those links in the video description so you can support these awesome creators that have taken the time to publish these books. It's often a labor of love rather than profit for many of these folks. And if you do any shopping after clicking those links, you're going to help the channel as well, because we do get a small percentage through that affiliate fee. So we really appreciate you watching, and let's move on to DM's game. First, we have The Alchemist, a martial blasting class of potent concoctions by Terran Indestructible Pounds, and it is $9.95 for 30 pages. And it says, as smoke clears from the candlelit laboratory, a gnome wipes the soot from his goggles. In front of him lies a glowing mixture that fumes offensively after the sudden but anticipated reaction. His excitement overcomes a curse the concoction seems to be casting on his senses. As he rushes to seal the now shaking flask with cork, holding the vibrating flask in hand, he smiles as he drips a layer of resin over the cork, proudly preparing his bottle a bad day for the trip ahead. Often found cooped up with their experiments or scavenging the wilds for ingredients, the alchemist is a student of the metaphysical essence of things, and is as curious as they are resourceful. They may be dedicated to the research of medicinal applications, demolitionists fascinated with the kinetic potential of violent reactions, or researchers of the hidden weaknesses of monsters that plague the land. So very cool. And you've got alchemy and magic, playing the alchemist. I mean, just really cool artwork already that we can see. I mean, look at that cover. That looks really, really fun. So let's look inside and see what all's in here. So you've got the class itself, and then you've got what they call the alchemical practices, which is the subclasses for the class. Then you got downtime activities related to being an alchemist, and you got equipment with special adventuring gear, alchemical items, etc. And then you got appendices with design notes, material components, a FAQ even, which is nice, recommended supplements, creature statistics, and change logs. So very helpful. And if you haven't subscribed to Indestructiboy's YouTube channel, you should do that as well. All right, so you've got the alchemist here, and it says alchemy and magic. The chemical creations of an alchemist can often blur the line between the natural and the supernatural. Considering spells often draw on power through material components, it's entirely reasonable to believe that an alchemist exists somewhere in this blur. But unless the creation specifically makes mention of a spell, the item and its effects are not themselves magical. Alchemists are a great fit for the low magic campaigns where spellcasting may be extremely rare for a standard adventurer. I'm not sure why I have trouble reading today. Anyway, playing an alchemist, you get this information here, and then it says creating your alchemist. So you've got your quick build, hit points, proficiencies, starting equipment, all that stuff. And then we get into the meat of it, which is the class feature. So it says Experimentalist Adept. Choose one of your skill proficiencies. Your proficiency bonus is doubled for any ability check you make that uses alchemist supplies and the chosen proficiency. Additionally, you only need to provide 5 GP worth of raw materials to craft any alchemical item you know the formula for worth 50 GP or less. When you craft alchemical items during a long rest, the maximum number of alchemical items you can create during the long rest is equal to your alchemist level plus your intelligence modifier. And then also first level, your practitioner of alchemical research has trained you in the implementation and creation of devastating chemical concoctions of incredible power. See the alchemical items section at the end of this class for the effects and items you can create with this feature. So you've got formulae, you know the formula for basic acid, alchemist's fire, antitoxin, basic oil, perfume, soap, and 2 other alchemical items of your choice. Each time you gain an alchemist level, you learn the formula for another alchemical item. And then catalyze is a bonus action on your turn. You can quickly create an alchemical item. And then potency, you have trained in the use of alchemical items in combat, granting you the following benefits. The range you can throw any alchemical item is doubled, and you can use your int modifier instead of strength or dexterity when making an attack roll with alchemical items. So very cool, kind of setting up the foundation of all these alchemical items you're going to be dealing with. And then you get to level 2, and that's when you pick your subclass. And then at 3rd level, you get Eureka, which you can use the bonus action granted by Catalyze to create a potion with a rarity of common that you know the formula for, providing required raw materials. The potion lasts for the same duration as any alchemical item you create with Catalyze, and then you have to wait until you finish a long rest to use it again. And also at 3rd level, you can use a bonus action on your turn to make a wisdom medicine check or take the use an object action. When you draw an item from your inventory during your free interaction on your turn, you can draw or store 2 items rather than one. So this is really good because, a lot of times, the act of grabbing a potion and doing different things with these stuff eats up an action, and then you're just, if you don't have bonus actions or things that don't require an action, then you kind of have to wait to do anything else, right? So it's nice to have a feature that gets around that problem, at least for this class, right? And there's more stuff that we just read the first 3 levels. I wanted to just give you a taste of it. I want you to come back here and read all of this for yourself, because there's a lot to read, including all these other features that go all the way up to level 20. Okay, but we'll read a little bit of the other parts of the book, because you get to see the whole book in the preview, which is awesome. That's very generous of Taryn to do that. So alchemical practices, these are some of the subclasses. So you've got the animator, you've got the apothecary, the fulminaire, the salbanist, the toxicologist. So that's cool, like 5 different subclasses. You don't often get so many with a new class. And then downtime activities like crafting, whether it's an item or a magic item, foraging for raw materials, and then your equipment here. And then let's look at some of the alchemical items. So these items can be purchased with your starting equipment and crafted with alchemist supplies. They are shown in the adventuring gear table. Some have a secondary classification shown in italics. This is meant for ease of reference, but certain classifications obey certain rules. So acids are generally occurring, are naturally occurring or originate from certain creatures, such as a black dragon. However, some acids are mundane chemical mixtures that may be created in a laboratory with alchemist supplies and are listed here. And then there's oils that are nearly always a substance that must be coated onto a creature or object. The action required to do so is listed as description. And then you got potions of healing. And then you've got alchemical item descriptions like basic acid, oxidizing agent acid, alkest, antitoxin, etc., and insect bane candle. So let's read that one. It says adventuring gear, alchemical item. For 1 hour, a candle sheds bright light in 5-foot radius and dim light for an additional 5 feet. This heavily scented candle smells pleasant to humanoids, but is especially potent in repelling insects, which are frightened while within 20 feet of the burning insect bane candle. So very cool. Yeah, I mean, there's just so much fun stuff in here. I mean, look at how many different alchemical items you can create. Again, the support for this new class is great. It's not often you get that. I know this isn't the first class from Terran, and I'm excited for people to see that there's another one, because the last one was pretty well received and also very thorough, and the layout is always great from Terran's products. You can see, really well done with these sort of tabs on the side and icons, and just really easy to follow. So I really appreciate that, and I think it's great. I think it's going to be another hit. So make sure you know about it and are prepared to take a look yourself. It is under The Alchemist in the links below. Give it a click. Next, we got Bloodied and Bruised, Volume 4, Fizban's Treasury of Dragons by Anne Gregerson. It's $3.95 for 28 pages. Already got a 5-star rating, and this is part of an ongoing series. And Anne has been going book by book through Wizards of the Coast releases for 5th edition that have monster profiles in them, and giving them this 4th edition bloodied condition as well as other options. And it's awesome because people really like having that. It's a way to let your players know, hey, okay, this character must be getting close to the end because it's starting to do something we're not used to it doing, because we peeked at the monster manual or whatever and we weren't supposed to. Right? So it's got different things. There's also death throws in it that can make the demise of the creatures much more interesting, whether it's a grand explosion, heavy fall, or other unique effect. And I just think it's a really cool, fun thing. If I were Wizards, I would include it already with the creatures, but thankfully Anne is on the case and doing it, and it's awesome to see. And you can see, each of the creatures are covered here, even the different youthful versions or older versions of some of the dragons, because Fizban's Treasure of Dragons has a ton of different dragons, right, of all ages. So Anne leaves no monster unturned and goes through and really makes sure that every single one is covered. So if you have Fizban's Treasure of Dragons in this book, you'll have everything covered, and that's beautiful. I really appreciate that Anne is breaking it out by book, because that just makes it really easy, because then you just need those 2 books to really have everything you need to reflect those bloody conditions. So you can see 8 pages of that here, so you get to see a lot of the conditions, etc. So let's take a look at the Amethyst Dragon and some of the things that happen to the Amethyst Dragon when it becomes bloodied at 222 hit points. So it gets a recharge on its legendary actions, recharge on Singularity Breath, and then it gets a new ability called Fling. While bloodied, the dragon can replace one of its claw attacks with a fling attack, but only if it just successfully hit a large or smaller creature with a bite attack on the same turn. Then the creature the dragon just bit is thrown up to 30 feet in a direction of the dragon's choice, landing prone. If a thrown target strikes a solid surface, the target takes bludgeoning damage for every 10 feet it is thrown. If the target is thrown at another creature, that creature must make a dex saving throw or take the same damage and be knocked prone. And it's got another new ability, Heavy Step. While bloodied, if the dragon moves at least 20 feet and doesn't leave the ground, it can replace its bite attack with a Heavy Step attack. While doing so, it can enter the spaces of large or smaller creatures. Whenever the dragon enters a creature space, the creature must make a dex saving throw. On a failed save, it takes bludgeoning damage and is knocked prone. If the dragon ends its turn in that space and the creature failed to save, the creature is grappled and restrained. On a success, the creature takes no damage, isn't knocked prone, and is pushed 5 feet out of the dragon space. And then it's got another new ability called Splintery Hide. While bloodied, the dragon's crystalline hide shatters when struck. If a creature hits the dragon with a melee weapon attack while within 5 feet of the dragon, it takes piercing damage from splintered crystals. So very cool. And then it's got a trigger ability called Cornered. When first bloodied, the dragon can use its reaction to make a claw attack against a creature within range. So all sorts of stuff firing when this ancient amethyst dragon gets to 222 hit points. You know, it's got this trigger ability to do a claw attack. It's got new abilities. So again, if your players are sneakily reading these books that they shouldn't be reading, or if you just want to have some things that just change, you know, because some of these fights, especially with these ancient dragons, it's going to last a while, right? So to have it change in the middle is going to be pretty cool and different, and make the characters not just go, okay, I'm going to cast this again, and you know, they're going to have to go, oh, well, that's different now how do I respond, right? So love this, and this is true for all the books covered so far, because Anne is doing a series here, so there's several other books. This is volume 4, so there's several other books that have been covered, so that you can have bloodied actions and traits and various things happening, reactions, etc. You know, as you go. So very, very cool. I love this series. It's super valuable, super inexpensive for the value you get out of it. And I really think it's from a creator worth supporting. So check it out under Bloodied and Bruised for Fizban's Treasury Dragons in the links below, and give it a click. Next, we got the Dryad's Fury, an adventure for levels 2+ from Ryan Doyle, $2.99 for 11 pages. It says a seemingly simple slay the plant monster scenario lands our adventurers in a social web as rich as the forest they explore, filled with enterprising woodcutters, druidic bugbears, and mercurial fae. Who they ally with and whether they bring balance or destruction to these woods depends on the player's decisions as much as their abilities to survive the Dryad's fury and resist their charms. Those succumbing may prove more fun. You can use it as one shot or as part of a larger campaign. And you've got some maps, 7 different maps that come with it, and you can combine it with their forest encounters, because this author has released several encounters volumes, you know, so the combination, it's really nice because their encounters books are great. They have some really fun encounters in them, and they're based on environment, so, you know, forest environment or whatever environment. And since this adventure takes place also in that environment, you can combine the two so that if you need to lengthen it, or you need to fill a session, or you want to just mix and match, you have those options. So I really appreciate that the author is also recommending that you check that out. So very, very cool. So looking inside, you get to see 11 of those pages. So there's some fun imagery in here to look at. You can see the Bugbear Cave, scroll of plant growth, standing stones, heartwood tree. I mean, just a lot of fun little sections, it looks like, to this adventure. Woodcutter's camp and traveling through the forest, etc. Non-player characters, a lot of details on those. And, you know, Vertigus Table, which is, you know, the publisher of this, they have a YouTube channel, so you want to check that out as well and give them a sub. But let's find a little section to read for you. So the woodcutter's camp. The scent of smoke fills the air as the woodcutter's camp is approached. Despite the hours of daylight remaining, a towering bonfire crackles in the center of the cleared section of forest. A human and a dwarf drag a large tree limb between them. Their work might be easier if they were using 2 hands, but each carries an axe at the ready. Though 𝙤𝙗𝙗 is eager for the party to deal with the bugbears and has purchased what he believes is an intimidating combat helmet for the occasion, his first priority is to return to the woodcutter's camp. He has been gone for several days, traveling to town and acquiring the services of our heroes, so he is surprised and dismayed when he returns. Of the original 24 woodcutters, only 𝙤𝙤 and 𝙤𝙤 remain. They relate how several were killed by blights and wild animals, causing the rest to flee. 𝙤𝙤 stayed in hopes of making amends to the forest spirits, and 𝙤𝙤 didn't want to leave him alone. A human named Farsto remained at the camp as well until yesterday, when he spoke of seeing the most beautiful woman he'd ever set eyes on while gathering fuel for the bonfire, which they found is effective against the blights. After spending the day failing to convince his allies to come along, he wandered into the woods last night and has not returned. Whether they end up fighting for or against the party, the woodcutters use the thug stat block with survival +2 and versatile hand axe as their only weapon. And then it says the NPCs have conflicting ideas of what should happen next and present the players with a key decision on how to proceed. So then it goes through what each of them wants, which is nice. That gives you lots of perspectives to play as the DM, especially if you like playing multiple characters, giving them different voices and stuff. That could be really fun. So then we got Scroll of Plant Growth. Every year on the summer solstice, the Dryads provide Scamma with the Scroll of Plant Growth, which she casts ritualistically to feed her family and the forest creatures near her cave. She believes if cast as an action concentrated on the stump of the Heartwood tree, the spell may save 𝙬𝙬𝙬𝙬 and end the blight. She is brewing potions of healing in preparation of her journey to the Standing Stones with bark to petition Verna and Ceres for an early copy of the scroll to save their sister. If the party visited the Standing Stones before the Bugbear Cave, Scamma has already obtained the scroll and is preparing to head for the Heartwood tree. So yeah, you could find that scroll in this adventure. I mean, there's just really cool stuff going on in the forest with this beautiful artwork to entertain yourself as you read through or to show to your players. So check it out under Dryad's Fury in the links below and give it a click. Next we have the Gladiator from Malachi Bell. It's $3 suggested price for 10 pages, and it's a brand new class, and it's made for those who seek fame and glory on the battlefield. And looking inside, you've got the class, and then you've got 5 archetypes, everything from the Beast Tamer to the Cursed. And it says for the most with the sane mind, combat is not a matter that should be taken lightly. However, the mind of a gladiator is arguably the furthest from rational as one can muster, for they do not view combat as the ordinary person does. A gladiator is no stranger to combat, whether it be a sanctioned bout with specific rulings in place or an impromptu encounter that got out of hand. This has honed their skill to the point that their need for survival is no longer a worry. So you've got the quick build information, and then you get into the hit points, etc. And then the first feature is your life has been accustomed to the arena, giving you certain advantages over other combatants. You gain proficiency in the performance skill and can add your charisma modifier to your initiative rolls. When you roll initiative, you gain temporary hit points equal to your gladiator level plus your charisma modifier. And then also at first level, at the start of your turn, you gain a flare die if you do not already have one, which begins at D4. As long as you are not incapacitated or unconscious, the size of your flare die increases by 1 to a maximum of 12 at the start of your turn. Your flare die goes away once you complete a long rest. Once you perform one of the actions listed below, your flare die is expended. If a feature calls for a saving throw, it is calculated as follows. So the different options are amp up the crowd, bob and weave, and showboat. As a bonus action, you can choose a number of other creatures you see within 30 feet. Up to your proficiency bonus, those creatures gain temporary hit points equal to 1 roll of your flare die. And then you can bob and weave. When a hostile creature deals damage to you, you can use your reaction to roll one of your flare dice and reduce the damage by that amount. Or you can showboat. As a bonus action, you can show off enraging your enemies. Until the start of your next turn, your melee weapon attacks deal extra damage equal to one roll of your flare die, and any creature that makes an attack roll against you can roll one of your flare dice and add the number rolled to the total. So pretty cool concept of flare dice, and that's just the early levels. There's a lot of other stuff to see in here, including a favored mount, bonded mount, if you're in the Beast Tamer class, subclass, and then you got brawlers and all kinds of stuff. The cursed, so maybe you have some curse to deal with. It looks like it says many gladiators fight for glorious battle, ending in victory or their own death, but for some, death isn't enough to end the fight, and they arise as cursed gladiators. So they basically died and come back as a gladiator. So Pretty cool. I love the diversity of these archetypes too. Pretty distinct sounding. A lot of times the archetypes for a new class are just kind of slightly different, so this one seems pretty diverse, and I like that. So check it out under Gladiator in the links below. Give it a click. Next we got another new class called the Invoker. So this week we just have classes, lots of classes. So this is our third one we looked at, but that's awesome. It's by Nicholas Street. It's a suggested price of $5, and it's 39 pages. It says, unleash the power of the Eidolons. What happens when gods become forgotten? Can their names still invoke power? A sect of spellcasters have discovered how to tap into long-dormant divine energies to reawaken beings thought lost to obscurity. And now you too can summon the Eidolons. Each one comes with a unique set of abilities that can help bolster any party, each equipped with signature actions and the ability to draw on your divine power, sapping your magic to unleash their mighty limit breaks. Choose your partners wisely and forge unearthly friendships as the Eidolons join you on your adventure. So you learn how to summon Eidolons. So there's 5 creatures across 20 levels with 10 to choose from at each of the 5 ranks. They have a unique focus and special features, each one, and they have signature actions, and you can advance them using the advancement system. And then there's 4 subclasses: the Guardian and the Scholar, the Exalt, and the Dominator. And then there's some new items as well. So it says it's a love letter to an iconic fantasy series seeking to bring the video game summoning archetype to Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. So, very true. There isn't an official summoning class. So, you got the Invoker here, creating it, class features, and it's a spellcasting class. And then go into summoning. At first level, you have learned to summon an Eidolon to serve you as a companion. So it talks about how you summon it, and then you know how to summon one rank 1 Eidolon of your choice from the Invoker Eidolon list on page 9. The Rituals Known column of the Invoker summoning table shows you when you learn more summoning rituals of your choice. Each of the rituals must summon an Eidolon of a rank no higher than what's shown in the table. So, so there's this whole summoning table. So if you're first level, you know one ritual and you can summon Eidolon of rank 1. But then when you get to 5th level, you know 3 rituals and you can summon a Eidolon of rank 2. So they go all the way up to 5th, it looks like. So pretty cool. So they can be active or inactive. It says your active Eidolons are subjected to certain rules here, and then you can dismiss or restore your Eidolon as well. And then you've got the Invoker Paradigm, Ruination. So Ruination, you learn the Sacred Flame cantrip. So pretty cool. Aether Sense, at 3rd level, you're exposed to raw divine power has affected your senses permanently. You can spend 1 minute to make a perception check to sense the presence but not the exact location of magic within 15 feet of you. If you sense magic in this way, you can use your action to learn its general type, whether it's arcane, divine, or natural. The sense cannot penetrate any barriers between you and the source of magic. And then you start getting into the Invoker Paradigm. So you've got the Guardian. So you get to see one of the subclasses, it looks like, or part of the second one, the Dominator, as well as all of the class info. So it's pretty cool. You can see they get spell slots all the way up to the 5th level. It seems fun. I mean, Eidolons is a really cool thing to interact with. So I think this is going to be a lot of fun. And it's been through multiple versions. You can see here it's version 1.3. So there's been some work on this, tweaking it, make it, balanced for you. So I think that's cool. So check it out under Invoker in the links below and give it a click. Next we have Monsters from Elsewhere by Mark Burton, $9.95 for 115 pages. It says, one stumbling block larger than any other for content creators and authors of role-playing games is getting a hold of the right art. You can come up with brilliant concepts all day, but if you can't find a piece of art for it, that's a problem. If you're intent on making races or monsters, folks will expect at least one piece of art to represent the entire creature in question. That brings us to this book, a spiritual successor to Spells from Elsewhere, where with a eureka moment I realized I didn't have to match art to an existing monster. I could create a monster based on the available art. Very true. That changed everything. Time periods, genres, technology levels, and the very foundations of cosmic adventure are called into question and shuffled together within this tome. So you get 56 stat blocks. Options abound for planes, horror, space, modern times, etc. Orange, purple, and yellow dragons, non-standard drow, space stuff, 13 magic items with drawbacks, the Cult of the Great Eye, 26 spells, and more. So just a lot of stuff in this book, which is cool. So you can see the Sekoloth Warden, which is a medium humanoid. And then you've got the Echo White, and then Giants, Driftstone Titan, in the free preview, so we'll read a little bit about some of these. So let's start with the Driftstone Titan. It says, before a skyship sets sail or a Fowler readies her glider, mortals ask for the blessings of the Driftstone Titans. Among the floating isles, everyone knows some version of the mythology regarding Driftstone Titans. Ancient, beyond memory, and utterly enigmatic, it is said the Driftstone Titans seeded the sky with land and act as protectors for the floating isles. For all of the worship lauded upon them, though, precious little is truly known of them except what people report from the day of listening. Once a year, on a certain day, a Driftstone Titan visits a random floating isle outcropping, if but a solitary mortal waits there. It is never the same isle 2 years in a row, and never if more than one person waits there. Many wait all day on a crag as a type of holy pilgrimage, but there are plenty of folk who see it as an opportunity to make their pitch to the gods. So, looking at their abilities, they've got they're immune to any spell that would alter its form or effect, and they can cast certain spells, and they got legendary resistance. And then Core of the Isle, recharge 6. A creature the Titan can see within 120 feet must make a con saving throw or take force damage and become petrified. While petrified in this way, the creature's spatial position cannot change, which can cause them to hover in midair. On a success, the creature takes half damage and is not petrified. And then let's just read a little bit about the Sekoloth Warden. If the Ranger Wardens of Sekoloth could be summarized in one word, it would be sturdy. While they are competent at ranged ambushes, their foes recall them best in melee combat, where they seemingly refuse to die. Sekoloth's defenses are diversified, and the Wardens are likely to be supported in battle by druids, scouts, or archers. The Wardens keep the melee combatants occupied, while their allies deal with problematic casters or ranged combatants. So it says it's based on a ranger archetype that the author created for nature magic, and that's based on the 4th edition class, the Warden. So get some familiarity with it here if you played 4th edition. So yeah, some fun stuff in here. Sounds like it's a really good grab and go supplement in terms of it's got a variety of things that you can just plug and play into your campaign, and that's always helpful. So check it out under Monsters from Elsewhere in the links below and give it a click. Next, we have A Most Unexpected Zombie Invasion from Midnight Tower. It's already a bestseller seller in its first week. It's got a suggested price of 99 cents for 13 pages. And it's an adventure for 3 to 5 4th level characters. It says the adventure can be played as a one-shot episode or an alternative ending to the adventure, An Unexpected Wedding Invitation. It can also be used as a side quest in any campaign that features an elven forest in it. And then you've got a mini adventure at a wedding, rescue mission, save as many NPCs from undead as possible, full color map with VTT and token. So pretty cool. Let's look inside. And I mean, I love this map. This is a really cool, regional map here. It's just beautifully done. And then you've got the background. And then here's another beautiful map. I mean, look at all the details on the floors here. Just lovely. And they always do such a good job at Midnight Tower. I really enjoy their stuff. So let's go read a little bit about it. So the characters have been invited to an elvish wedding by the bride, Lysandria Isolanthe, who is an old friend of one of the characters. The wedding is held at Silver Lodge, a hunting lodge situated deep in the woodlands near Argentus Falls, southeast of Northwind Gate. However, during the evening, the groom is found dead. When the murderer is exposed, Lysandria's lady companion, Rosalinda Brenborn, casts a spell in anger, but the warlock spell misfires and Silver Lodge is now overrun by zombies. And so it goes right into that adventure, and you've got the courtyard. So let's read a little bit down here in the kitchen. So I love reading the flavor text, so let's read that for you in the kitchen. Glowing arcane runes float in the air around the gnome. Magical energy crackles from her fingertips as she points a finger at one of the zombies. The next moment, a purple beam shoots across the room. The beam hits one of the zombies, and it is engulfed by magenta-colored flames. The gnome looks up at you and notices you. "Don't worry about me." She raises her hand again to cast a new spell. "Save the others! Hurry!" How cute. The gnome is Rosalinda Brynborn, a mage who can cast spells up to 2nd level. So very cool. I love gnomes. They're just so adorable. Just very cool. And then you've got this map. I just can't get over it. So good. So yeah, this is fun. I think you could have a lot of fun dealing with this stuff, dealing with these zombies all of a sudden arising, and I think it shows you a good example of how, as a DM or a creator, you can use somebody trying to do something with good intentions and it just going sideways, whether it's a spell misfiring or accepting a bargain they shouldn't accept, whatever it is. It goes sideways, and now the adventurers are the only ones who can save the day, and it's just a really cool setup. And it's always done beautifully by Midnight Tower. So check it out under A Most Unexpected Zombie Invasion and give it a click. Next we got Prestige Class, The Horseman, and it's by Alexander Letourneau. And it is $4.99 for 8 pages, suggested price there. It says, becoming a horseman is not to be taken lightly. You are walking a path above mortal men in the name of the world around you. You have the potential to be a force of great power when called upon. So basically, this is like the 4 horsemen of Apocalypse. And it's a prestige class. So what it's doing is it's layering this on top of what you already are doing with your class, right? And this was more common in older editions, but I've seen various homebrewing attempts to bring it back, and so this is another one, which is cool, because it is kind of a fun concept, and I could see it working in some ways with 5th edition. So it says, it's, champion of conquest, war, famine, and death itself. The path you choose is signing your soul to something far out of reach, and breaking this contract is only possible at your demise. So, and then you get proficiencies or prerequisites, and then you have proficiencies, and then equipment, etc. So with all prestige classes, they have a prerequisite, like you have a certain con level, certain wisdom, proficiencies. You have to be at least 5th level, that stuff, and you have to do a special task. And then it goes through all the things. And then there's the horse at 1st level. When you take the title of horseman, you choose your banner: conquest, war, famine, or death. So you have to align with like one of the traditional 4 horsemen of Apocalypse's themes here. You gain the ability to innately cast Find Greater Steed at will, summoning a nightmare. It is armored with the symbol matching your banner. So if you are aligned with war, for example, your color is red and the symbol is sword and shield. And then at 2nd level, you begin to ascend away from mortality, and you become proficient and have advantage on death saving throws, so that would be helpful. The Horseman of Conquest weaponizes those who fall in battle. The Horseman projects an aura that forces creatures within 100 feet to make an attack against another creature of the Horseman's choosing that can be seen by either the Horseman or fallen creature as they fall. So that makes sense, like you would think a Conquest Horseman would have that ability to kind of cause this battling between each other, making people fight each other. And then the Horseman of War, as a reaction to taking damage that would bring them to 0 hit points, may redirect that damage to a creature of their choice they can see within 100 feet. So surviving the war. And the Horseman of Famine projects an aura out to 100 feet that causes fallen creatures of their choice to make this throw at disadvantage. And if the creature still succeeds their saving throws and returns to life, they gain a level of exhaustion. So that fits with famine. And then death never loses consciousness and does not die. They do not make traditional death saving throws. And they can move up to 30 feet in any direction from its body and uses action to siphon life from another creature. So very fun. So they seem pretty thematic for all the different four horsemen involved. And, I like these experiments with prestige classes. Always cool to see people trying to bring that back. So check it out under prestige class, the horseman, in the links below, and give it a click. Next, we have Sora Esma's Card of Curiosities from Jared Taylor, $2.95 for 21 pages. It says, as long shadows draws near once more in the world of Eberron, the grandmotherly Sora Esma, fabled hobgoblin, peddler, and storyteller, has stacked her magical bearer with another 450 trinkets to swap and barter with celebrants and revelers. Draconic hoard spoils, masterpieces of architecture, tantalizing gifts from dark-hearted fae, all of these things and more lie in wait. This latest installment offers an array of items that are particularly catered to the world of Eberron. Dungeon Masters can use encounters with Sora Esma for their players to acquire these items, or can pepper them throughout dungeons, gift them from patrons, marking momentous occasions, or even drop them in otherwise mundane encounters to drop a new plot hook or touch of whimsy. So, very cool. You can see here a list of like the themes behind all of these, because this whole book is trinkets, right? So these all have themes like dealing with eyes or flowers or jellyfish or unicorns, etc. So you get the introduction, finding out about Sora Esma. If you want to include Sora Esma CR10 in your campaign, you can. But then you've got trinkets related to Ancient Talisman, Animal Skull, Archway, etc. So let's read a few from this page. So Ancient Talisman, the first one is Portents of Doom are scrimshod in giant runes on this silver eladrin bone. There's also Rainbow Chain binds this twitching gnarled tiger's paw. And then under Animal Skull, you have a chain of serpent skulls that no Medusa can break. Wolf skull helm inlaid with Bishiak sigils that repels the touch of the unnatural. And then under Archway, you have hanging this silver horseshoe above a door prevents entry into the room by undead horses. A chunk of glass from a former entrance to the glass tower in Sharn that changes colors when passed overhead. So you can see, and it just goes through a bunch of things: candles, chilly winds, constructs, creepy dolls, eyes, flowers, Noel's treasure, lightning. I mean, just tons and tons of stuff. You can see the whole book before you purchase it. Wild magic. So yeah, if you're looking for trinkets, why not read through the whole book in the preview, see if it's going to work for you, and then give it a purchase, because it's a pretty low price for so many trinkets as well. So check it out under Sora Esma's Card of Curiosities in the links below, and give it a click. Next, we got Untold Lineages Vampire, options for odd characters or unexpected NPCs. And it's from Keith Hiscox, $1.95 for 8 pages. We've covered a lot of Keith's previous work with Untold Subclasses, which I really enjoyed. And now this is a lineage, so presumably a part of a new series, because down here you can see all of the Untold Subclasses from before. This one includes, of course, the Vampire Lineage, but as well as 13 Vampiric Feats, it's Rogue NPC stat block that's Vampiric, and then you've got some non-human stat blocks, and then notes and possible quest hooks. So very, very cool. So looking inside, it's based on the Dampier. So if you've got Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, you start with that and then you build upon it. So you get all of those abilities, and then it's layered on top. So going to increase that power. It says to become a full vampire, you must either die as a result of a vampire bite or willingly drink the blood of your vampire sire for a number of consecutive nights equal to your constitution statistic. Either of these options preemptively consumes the PC's next ASI, which will have no effect when you reach the appropriate level. Instead, you immediately suffer the following vampiric weaknesses, but also gain the vampiric rapid healing. Okay, so I see how they're doing it. They're giving some weaknesses, but then they're giving you additional power. So you cannot enter residence without invitation. You have sensitivity to running water, so you take acid damage if you end your turn immersed in water. And if a wooden stake is placed through your heart while you're resting, you take damage from the attack as normal and become paralyzed until the stake is removed. And then you have sunlight sensitivity, but then presumably you get you get the healing, which we've talked about, and then you get these feats. So a vampire automatically gains the feat Vampiric Rapid Healing and may choose from the following additional feats. So Rapid Healing, as a bonus action on your turn, provided you have at least one hit point, you may choose to expend a hit die, and you basically gain HP equal to the number rolled. If you getting sunlight sensitivity or running water, you can't use it. And then there's improved and then nascent. So you can build on those feats to just keep growing that ability, and which makes sense because older vampires tend to be stronger, right? And if you're a higher level, you've lived longer than a lower level, because it takes time to get through those levels. So very, very cool, fun stuff. Check it out under Untold Lineages Vampire in the links below and give it a click. Next we have Wondrous Treasures, full rules for generating all rarities of magic items, intelligent items, and cursed items, from Rob Waller and Spirit of Envy for $4.99 for 24 pages. So you can easily create magic items of all rarities with this, whether you pick traits from extensive lists or using the available tables to randomly generate a near limitless number of unique items. There's also full rules for generating intelligent items with distinct personality traits and their own goals. This sounds fun. I definitely want to get this. So it's got all the properties, and then the weapon properties, armor properties, intelligent items, cursed items, etc. And then let's go inside so you can see fun wizard style layout with artwork, and you've got the different properties. So if it's a common, it's going to have one lesser property. If it's an uncommon, it's going to have two of those. But then you get to rare, you get two of those plus one greater. So that's kind of how they help you balance your items that you're creating. So then it lists all the possible lesser ones like acid resistance. And then when you get to greater, you've got things like acid immunity. So that can be super helpful to distinguish as you create those. And then they give you some samples. So here you've got the Brooch of Second Chances. It's uncommon, requires attunement. The Silver Brooch carries a simple enchantment that occasionally allows the wearer to avoid potentially disastrous situations. So it's got protection and resolute. So you basically go back up here and you look for protection and resolute. So it says you gain a +1 bonus to AC and saving throws while wearing the item, and then resolute, when you fail a saving throw, you may immediately spend your action to re-roll it, and you must use the second roll. So cool. So it's giving good examples of and all the different weapon properties you can use. So I like this. Really fun. It makes it easy to create items yourself. You can just roll on these tables, and next thing you know, you've got an item, and they've got a system to help you keep it kind of balanced, right? Because you got the lesser and greater. So very, very helpful for DMs who want to create their own stuff, or creators who want to publish stuff, to kind of inspire them. So check it out under Wondrous Treasures in the links below. Give it a click. And that was our last new release. Now I want to sneak peek at what's coming next week for our discount. So every Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Splinterverse, we give you access to a discount. And so this coming Monday, it is going to be Out of the Abyss, The Fall of 𝘙𝑗ℎ𝑗, a Mind Flayer dungeon adventure by Daniel Kahn. And it's already on sale, but it's going to be, I believe, even better price with our discount. So because this is 30% and ours is greater than that. And it is The Fall of 𝘙𝑗ℎ𝑗. Deep in the Underdark, an elder brain 𝘙𝑗ℎ has died and been reanimated by the demon prince of undeath, Orcus. Brave adventurers will be called upon to help vanquish this evil. Should they fail, 𝘙𝑗ℎ and all of his mind flayers will be able to create an army for Orcus to unleash destruction upon the Underdark and the world. So in the supplement to Out of the Abyss, your party will explore the lair of the elder brain named 𝘙𝑗ℎ. The adventure hooks are primarily linked to Out of the Abyss, but the story may be run as a standalone adventure. So Daniel always does these really cool adventures that connect to existing adventures, but can be done separately as well. So really fun stuff. We're not going to go into all of it today, but you can see you're going to have some fun maps involved. You're going to have, it's for 4 to 6 characters, levels 9 to 12, and you're going to get a really cool price on this. And it's a platinum seller, so that means a lot of people like it, and sold over 1,000 copies. So you can get yours for a really cheap price Monday at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time on all of our social media channels, and then of course we will go deep dive into this next week on our Friday episode. So stay tuned for that, and look for it next week. Well, thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave us a comment. I will respond to all of those personally, and click the links in the video description. Support all these awesome creators, encourage them to keep creating this work by supporting it and purchasing it, helping them make their money back on the expense of creating these titles. And of course, if you do any shopping after you click those links, it does help the channel through a small affiliate fee. So please do your shopping with us, and consider purchasing some of our books. We've got 5 listed down there, including our new Swarms of the Multiverse, over 180 pages in digital or print, with tons of new monsters, some demi-planes, over 150 adventure hooks. I mean, just packed full of goodness for you. So check it out in those links in the video description, along with all the other awesome Splinterverse titles. And you can go to splinterverse.com to also just read more about all of our books and what we're up to. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you're having a great week, and until next time, happy adventuring.